Assemblymember, please walk us through this relief package.
Yeah, so yesterday the legislature passed and the governor signed an initial $2.5 billion in emergency aid, disaster aid, recovery aid to come down here to Southern California to communities that have been impacted by these wildfires. This is going to cover a lot of the emergency response. It's also going to help with some of the debris removal, some of the environmental issues, all of the things that we need to think about as we look forward to help protect these communities, rebuild these communities, and help folks get back on their feet.
And how soon will people actually start seeing the effects of the package?
This money is moving immediately. The legislature acted with incredible urgency, passing this $2.5 billion in aid, unanimous bipartisan support, doing it really in a matter of days. They actually flew the bills down on Southwest yesterday, right after the legislature passed them, so that the governor could sign them immediately, so that we can get those dollars flowing down here to Los Angeles today, to start that work, to support that work, to make sure that we are delivering for these communities. And one of the things that everybody was very clear about, that I was clear about when I authored the bill and when I spoke about it and when the governor spoke about it yesterday, is this is really just the first of many steps. This is a down payment on the work that the state is going to be doing. We know that this is going to be a long process, that there are going to be a lot of steps in the journey, but we wanted people in Los Angeles to see that we are acting with urgency, but we also want them to know that we are going to be here with them for the long haul every step of the way. And so that we expect to be doing more rounds of aid, more legislation, more budget actions as soon as a few weeks from now. But we really felt that it was important to get these initial dollars out the door and make sure that we were supporting all of the work that needs to be done over the next couple of weeks.
So really just the first step, and there is still more aid coming down the road here.
Exactly. And I think what was important is that you had a lot of leaders not from Los Angeles, who have stood up and said to the people of LA, to the people here in Southern California, you know, I live here in a community in Encino there where people were under mandatory evacuation. Thank you. And thankfully, there was no destruction here. We're the lucky ones, but having been in the Palisades, having been in the area of the Eaton fire, the devastation is unbelievable. And it's going to require the state of California, along with our federal partners and our local partners, to be there for those communities. And so it was very meaningful to me as a legislator from Southern California, as an Angelino, is to see people from other parts of the state who were standing up and saying, we're going to be there with you.
What's really your message to fire victims and LA County as a whole? Because it's not just those that have lost their homes, but also those that are displaced, who are now expected to go back to a community that's just been ravaged by fires. What message do you have for them all?
The message we have is very clear, which is that the state of California is going to act with urgency to be there for those impacted by this horrific tragedy, and that we're going to be here for the long haul. And so even as we are working to take these initial steps, we know that there are a lot of folks in a lot of communities who have been impacted by this, not just the people that live in those areas that were devastated by the wildfires, but the people who worked in the businesses in those communities, the people who are impacted by air quality issues and water quality issues and all of the things that are associated with this disaster. We know that there are small businesses that need help, nonprofits that need help. So there's a lot of issues here for us to work on, but I want people to know that the state acted with urgency and in a bipartisan fashion, unanimous bipartisan support to send $2.5 billion down to Los Angeles. And we are going to work to make sure that we are here with Angelinos and folks in Southern California every step of the way as we work to rebuild these communities. And I think there's also recognition that these were really special communities, really unique communities, places with a lot of history, with an incredible sense of community. And so we're going to be here to make sure that we are supporting those communities as they rebuild.
And I'm sure you've heard from many people that are concerned about their homeowners insurance, whether or not they're going to have the coverage that they need. There's been talk that President Trump wants to get rid of FEMA and have the states take care of it. So people are really worried right now. They're concerned. And is this going to be enough? I think a lot of people are wondering, is this bill really going to be enough?
Well, this bill is very clearly intended just to be a first step. And again, this is a lot of money very quickly to send this down here to Los Angeles, but we know it's not nearly enough to get the job done. And we are really counting on our federal partners, who are the folks who are supposed to play the major role here in disaster relief and recovery, to step up. And one thing I would note is that, you know, California is a massive donor state. in 2022, which is the last year that we have records for, we sent $83 billion more to Washington, D.C. than we as Californians got back. And so I think it's fair for us to expect that we are going to see some of our money that we have sent as California taxpayers to Washington come back to help us with these rebuilding efforts. In the same way that Washington was there for Florida and Texas and Louisiana and other states that have experienced natural disasters, I think it's fair for us to expect that our federal government is going to be there for us in this moment of significant destruction and damage and catastrophe here in Southern California. And so I'm really, really hopeful that FEMA and the federal government are going to do the right thing, that they're going to reimburse all of this money that the state is spending, that they're going to send in the aid and the supplies and the financial resources that we need for these communities to rebuild.
All right, Assemblymember Jesse Gabriel, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And of course, we are sending nothing but love to all of those who are impacted. We're all Californians, we're all Angelinos, we're all Americans, we're in this together. And I'm very confident that we're going to rebuild these special communities, and we're going to be really proud when we do that.
I think you're right. Thank you.